Do you have what it takes to survive on a deserted island? My name's Jason, and I'm here to guide you through the newest survival game, The Survivalists. This is the latest addition to Waking Up on a Beach by Team 17. This game adds together all your favorite survival mechanics into a simple 8-bit world. It's really good. Speaking of the stunning world, let's review the visuals for the deserted island you now call home. Now, this isn't some hyper-realistic game, instead it tries to charm you with its simplicity. Now, when I say simple, I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I love the game, I love the graphics, and I love what it tries to create. It's a really easy flowing art style. The game's beautiful, it has a ton of little details, but it's not too much, and it doesn't have crazy colors that are like, scream at you. There's no excessive use of anything. Sure, there's some biomes in the game that might have a lot more trees or none at all, but they fill it with other things, and it really does make you feel like you changed where you're playing at. It adds to the world, and it makes exploring even more rewarding. So during your adventures, while you're exploring this new land you have to live on, you're probably going to come across 3 biomes fairly quickly. That would be the jungle, the desert, and the swamp. These all come with varying obstacles and challenges, but also give you unique rewards or resources. Now, to tell what biome you're in, it's fairly simple because they change it up pretty drastically. The jungle biome is usually dense with trees, bushes, and just plain old rocks. While when you travel to the swamp, it still might have a lot of trees, but you'll notice more water, and there'll be flies buzzing around, and they might even attack you once in a while. Now, if you're sick of trees, you could always just keep running, and eventually you'll probably run into a desert biome which has absolutely no trees, or maybe a few dead ones, some more minerals, some gold, or even gems. I found myself taking in all these little details, getting really immersed into this world that has been built for you to survive in, to thrive in. It's great when you can just look around and it all flows. Even when you change from one biome to the other, it makes it feel really natural, which makes the game that much more enjoyable to play. While playing the game, you're even able to customize your character, changing how he or she looks depending on what you want. From hairstyle to facial hair to glasses. The game does lack a little bit in diversity for shirts and pants, but you can customize them with a range of colors. So you can make your character pretty unique to your preferences and whatever you want. So now that we've soaked in the visuals and we changed our character from looking like Caillou, we're able to discuss now, how do you survive in this world? As I said earlier in the video, this game does encompass a lot of the mechanics in all the survival games that have come out so far. They improve on old ones, and they also introduce some pretty unique new ones. So your first hurdle that you're trying to overcome in the game is usually going to be surviving. That's hunger, thirst, fighting enemies that might be around where you spawn. Something I noticed very quickly when you're trying to get the basics down, when you're trying to first build your base or get the stuff you need just to live through the night, this game doesn't have a thirst meter. You don't have to worry about carrying a water bottle or running to the ocean or anything like that in this game. All you have to worry about is hunger, which is pretty easy to keep up. Now, hunger works just like it does in many other survival games. When you're at full hunger, you can start replenishing health, and when you're out of hunger or you're starving, your health starts to deplete slowly over time. The quickest way to get your health back up or to fill your hunger would just be destroy some bushes and get some berries. You could even get coconuts from trees, or when you kill a bat and you can cook their meat. It's almost never pressed for starving. You can almost always find something near you before your health completely depletes. So it's a mechanic that's in the game, but it is very much on the back burner. You're not really going to be thinking about it all the time. Since you're not worrying about hunger, that does free up the gameplay for you to really do what you want. You can go on the farther journeys because you're not worried about how many resources you brought, because you're going to find something on the way most likely. I was really shocked at how easy it was to keep hunger up, but I did enjoy it because some games it's really brutal and you might die the first day having to restart over and over and over again. So the next thing that they took and tweaked that I thought was really cool is the HP system isn't tied to armor. It's now tied to your bed level. There's different tiers of bed that provide better and better bonuses. It really encourages you to upgrade your stuff and not stick on the first tier you get just for convenience. And that's something this game does very well. It makes you want to upgrade, it makes you want to progress. So now that you have your bed and your hunger under control, you want to progress in defending yourself because, enemies are all over, especially at night. You can make a plethora of different weapon types, each with their own advantages and disadvantages. They range from building your first wooden club all the way to a golden sword. You can even get a bow and arrow. It's really cool because it makes you be able to handle any situation or any monster any way you really want to. And the reason there is so many weapons is because there's so many different kind of mobs you'll come across, from orcs to tigers to skeletons. There's even little things like when the flies attack you in swamps, they constantly drain health and you can't really fight them. It's really cool, and there's situations in the game that make you have to think or be cautious and be prepared, or you're gonna get run over. To avoid getting run over, they have a cool dodge mechanic you can use. It uses a ton of your energy, but it's really useful for evading attacks because a lot of the enemies you come across have dashes or lunges. This makes fighting a little more interactive. You're not just kind of hitting, taking a step back, hitting. You can be a little more aggressive if you're conservative with your energy. I found personally one of the most annoying enemies to fight, or at least early on, was the boars. They almost seemed invincible from head on, so unless you can dodge around and hit them in the back, you're gonna have a really bad time. Now, if you're not bad at combat like myself and you want a little challenge, this game also offers that. There's temples, there's dungeons, and there's also labyrinths, all with varying levels of difficulties and varying levels of rewards. Now, dungeons are the most common and probably the easiest of these to do, while still providing some kind of difficulty. They're usually laid out with multiple rooms connecting, having to clear one before proceeding to the next. At the end, you usually fight a couple of harder mobs or just a lot in one room. Beating them all lets you open a couple of good chests with some decent loot in it. Also at the end, you notice this giant statue that you can craft legendary weapons at. I personally haven't been lucky enough to be able to do this, but they are way harder to break and last almost forever. So if you want more difficulty, you're going to want to seek out temples. These usually involve some kind of puzzle or some kind of trick to get into them. They're like dungeons, just a little bit bigger and a little bit harder. Now, the last thing you might want to take on is a labyrinth. These can only be accessed by purchasing a special key from a mysterious vendor you find all throughout the world. These are to help you discover why and how you got to this island. Now, these do provide some challenge. I would associate this to being this game's raids. It's the end game for now. And if combat isn't your type of game, if you just play these to get immersed in trying to survive on an island and you want to just build a home and start a life, you can. The crafting in this game is very involved, and there's many skill trees for every type of crafting you do. They even changed the way you build big structures, from needing all the resources at once to just placing a blueprint and adding them in over time. This is a really cool way to do it because you can kind of envision what you want your base to be without it being permanent. It allows you to really design and get a feel for what you want. Now, there's multiple different skill trees you're going to have to level up. The blueprints have their own special skill trees that progress when you finish building one. You can also build stuff on a crafting bench, on a furnace, and just by standing still. These all have their own unique skill trees, and they all progress separately. You need to keep building something to unlock the next thing. This makes you have to build one of anything in the game to unlock everything in the game. This is really cool, and I'm glad they did this because the stuff that you build on early is components to the things you build later. So you kind of need to build everything, and it's good that they make you unlock the things that way and not just by choosing what you want to unlock. I feel like this adds to the reward system because when you're going through the tree and you discover, oh, I can build a raft, I can leave this island and go to new ones, it really feels like you're discovering the wheel for the first time. Like you're really doing something special on this island. It's kind of amazing. And because you have a raft, you can now go to new islands and get new materials and unlock more crafting recipes. It's so intricate and it all leads into the next. It's like one big snowball. So while I do give praise to this crafting system, there is something that I did find that was quite annoying. Some things can get very long while crafting because you have to manually sit there and craft it. It's not just instant as you put the materials in. But they do have unique solutions to solving this, like using monkeys. Now, all these mechanics I've talked about, from the unique crafting to the fighting, it all adds to the world and is very fun to do, but you're not going to be doing any of it because you're going to be training monkeys to do almost everything for you in the game. You heard me right, you get to teach monkeys, an army of monkeys. These monkeys can do anything from fighting monsters for you, to chopping down trees and digging up roots, or picking supplies up and bringing them somewhere. They can even finish crafting stuff for you. So in theory, you can have an assembly line of monkeys doing everything for you. But you have to keep in mind when training monkeys, they can only do one singular task. So if their thing is to put something in the chest, they're going to pick something up and put it in the chest, nothing else. If they're building something on the crafting bench, they're only going to finish building projects. They're actually so one-track mind that if they're building on the bench, they won't build blueprints. You need a separate monkey for that. So it can be tedious to set them all up and get them going, but once you get them going, you'll just have the perfect assembly line of monkeys, and you really won't be doing much, but whatever you actually want to do. Another way these monkeys are vastly useful is you don't have a backpack in the game. So your next closest thing is getting a monkey and giving them a chest. They'll then follow you around and you can access this chest while they're holding it. It's basically your backpack without really having a backpack. So naturally, the more monkeys you have, the more things you can do. To get monkeys, you can either find them around the world, hidden in cages, break them free, and then they'll love you forever. Or you can bring them something. Some just want a simple fruit cocktail, while others want a golden Buddha statue. It all ranges, but they're all very worth it to get. What makes it worth it is that these monkeys aren't some stagnant pet. They progress throughout the game, and they level with you. The more they do a singular task, the better they are at it. If you want combat monkeys, they'll eventually get stronger and stronger. You can also name them to keep track of who they are. And there is a customization feature, but I personally couldn't get it to work, so I don't know if it's too early or just not in the game yet, but the button is. So it's cool, so you know in the future they're ready to pump out more content involving monkeys. It's Planet of the Apes for real. Now, if you're wondering how it got to Planet of the Apes, this game actually does have the bones of a story going on. While you're traveling the world, when you loot skeletons or cars or crashed planes, you'll find lore or diaries that give descriptions of someone else's experience. While these are only little diary entries, it really does make you feel like other people have tried this before, and that this is some kind of overwhelming place that people don't survive, and now you're trying to survive. So what I could decipher so far wasn't much. I didn't get to beat everything that the game had to offer, but you basically got thrusted into a storm while on a raft and then sucked into some kind of portal. And then the portal basically washed you up into another world where you woke up on a beach. You're now lost, hungry, and looking for answers. You then go and travel the world and you find a merchant that you can get keys to, which then lead you to labyrinths that have the answers to your questions. So overall, I've really enjoyed this game and I can't wait to put more hours into it. I also am really excited to see the future development of this game and what it really becomes. So hopefully this review helped you decide if you want to purchase this game or not. I do recommend, but it's ultimately up to you, the viewer. So if you like it, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. Leave a comment if you have more questions. We'll try to answer anything else you come across. There'll be a tips and tricks in the future. So stay tuned. Thank you.